All right.
Yesterday, hanging out at the Goin For tailgate. But what a good crowd we have in here. What a great weekend of football we had.
We're in a different sim, too, so we got a different view tonight.
We do have a little bit of a different. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I actually feel like we're a little bit more open. We can see a lot more of the action that's going on here.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I see the Pac-Man picture over there.
I see the CN Tower, hoping to see a hole-in-one from range. Would be pretty sweet.
This seems like a popular day to have your birthday down here at the clubhouse. That's where we're hanging out tonight. We're going to be giving away a Minka Parsons jersey, I believe is what I saw on the wall over there.
Yeah. It is Christmas season, pal. Listen, I don't know if you guys are elves like me. Yes, I said you guys. Chad is here. He's still just recovering from yesterday's celebrations, I think, too.
That's
so
right.
Taking the day off there. But I don't know if you guys are elves. I am. I am excited.
Look, it is the Christmas season. It is time to start doing some giving and maybe like a nice and naughty list. So we'll see how that all shakes out today. There was a lot of giving going on. Lead story has to be Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. That's got to be where we start. A 9-0 team and an 8-2 team squaring off. Now I'm going to tell you something. I was a little bit surprising to me when I heard that the Bills had won the last 4 regular season games against the Chiefs. However,
you know what I'm a little surprised with? That we're working our way backwards through the day. I thought you would have hopped on that train right now and wanted to get the business.
Hey, Chad already stared at me and said not to do it, and I feel like we should save it till the end. That way, at least we know that there's like a hard stop and we're not going to do the whole show.
Yeah.
So I heard Chad's message loud and clear. So we're going to start with the Chiefs and the Bills. I think that it's no surprise to anybody that watched that game. Josh Allen is now the betting favorite to be the MVP. I don't think that means that he's going to be the MVP, but after a game like that, you take down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and you do it in the style that he did to finish it off. Any disagreement with that at all?
Oh, no, and trade deadline was just a little while ago. I don't know if we've seen a team who's traded for some players and had their players pay dividends as quickly as Buffalo has. Just in that game alone, I mean, we've certainly seen DeAndre Hopkins pull whatever he needed to for Kansas City. But in that game, this is a game where you need your big guys to show up that you've traded for. Amari Cooper with a big one-handed catch down the sideline. Tre'Davious White matched up against Hopkins on the other line and is able to knock the ball away a few times. 2 guys that you needed to show up. That the reason they went and got you, and they're already doing it against a team that they know they need to beat in the AFC. So
yeah, and you know what? I think that this is the best possible scenario for the Chiefs too, because you got to get that loss out of the way. Who better to lose to than the Bills?
And not at home.
Yeah, not at home. You're right. I don't think Taylor Swift was there, so like the streak continues. That was their first loss since Christmas of last year.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Kind of surprising. But, you get that out of the way. You pay your dues. You get your dividend. I mean, I kind of view this. I'm not saying it's the same, but I view this very similarly to what happened to the Eagles last year, where once that undefeated season goes away, maybe some of those close games that you needed to win, you found a way to win, you might not win those again.
You're saying the Chiefs might do this now?
I think that
absolutely not. Nick Sirianni is a joke coach. I'm sorry. He cannot hold his players accountable for anything. And I don't think it's always a player's fault. I do think that from the top down, not Howie. Howie's a great GM. But I mean, top down coaching wise, I think there's some problems there. But Andy Reid and his team, I don't think they have to worry about anybody not showing up to play or slouching.
You can't say that because you haven't seen it, right? Like
exactly, we haven't seen it, but we've seen it.
Well, we've seen it last year with the Chiefs. We've seen it the year before with the Chiefs. Now, they came out with the Super Bowl both those years, so don't get me wrong. That's what I'm saying. It's not the same as what the Eagles were. But if we're sitting here right now and the Chiefs are sitting at 9-1, the Bills are at 9-2, which one of them finishes the season with more wins? To me, it's Buffalo. And I think that the Chiefs probably finish this season 13-4.
My problem with Buffalo is that once every 2 or 3 games, Josh Allen's going to go off in the wrong direction. And what I mean
hasn't happened yet, though.
There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be mistakes. It hasn't happened. You're right. It hasn't happened. But that just might mean that the law of averages means that it's going to happen at some point, and there's only so many regular season games left for it to happen.
Right.
Right.
Well, look, I think after yesterday, and this is the easiest, like this is not a hot take, it is easy to make a path for Buffalo to be the 1 seed. It is not so easy for me, and I'm not even looking at the schedule, but, like the Chiefs get so much love. The Chiefs are going to be on every primetime slot, whether it's an actual Monday night, Sunday night, or like the 4:30, like Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are on the Kansas City Chiefs tour. I just think that it's plausible that they lose three more games this year. And for them to do that, you look at Buffalo, really in the division, the only thing that's pushing them is Miami. And, we talked about it last week. We did say, and you buried this and you said there's no chance. Miami's sniffing a playoff spot right now. Now, I agree with what you said last week. 4 wins at this point is not going to get them to where they need to be. But you're looking at a Cincinnati Bengals team that's getting flexed into primetime games that has 4 wins. And really outside of the the Chargers, the Broncos, and I guess you could say the Colts, because the Colts have 5 wins. There is nobody that's really pushing there. So you look at a team like the Chargers. They played well last night. Justin Herbert was great. We'll get into him. Can the Broncos sustain? I think that they're a pretty good team, so there's a chance. But what I'm telling you is if one of those 2 teams falter, watch out for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not saying that they're going to make a run and make the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that Tua's going to be...
They're going to be the 7-9 Seattle Seahawks that make the playoffs?
No, because it's going to be a wild card, right? So
it's not even 7-9 anymore. But
like right now, if you look at the Dolphins, I can't remember if they're either 4-7 or 4-6. I think that they're 4-6 because they've had a bye week. You start to go up and down, and you look at the Patriots in that division. Cool, like they're not a layover, but you should beat them. You got the Jets in that division. You should beat them. Start to find some of these games where you can stack on Miami, and Tyreek Hill is starting to look like Tyreek Hill again. The offense, when they can run the ball, is a dangerous offense, and if they don't make the playoffs, they're definitely going to spoil some playoffs for some other people. Now, I'm of the belief that the AFC playoffs are already decided. The 7 teams that are making it are already there. There's not going to be a lot of drama. But if someone was to make some drama, it's going to be the Dolphins.
I already don't buy their hype, so I don't want to repeat last week.
Yeah, we don't have to. But what I'm telling you is that 4 wins, 4-6 right now. They're 2 games out of a playoff spot. They can make some noise. Those teams are there. The NFC is a little bit more crowded, but let's jump into Sunday Night Football, because at halftime I was ready for bed. Ended up in a conversation that kept me up a little. Like halftime was ending. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just see how this goes, and then you see like a Chargers field goal, and you're like, oh, that's 21 points, but you're like, oh, they got Joe Burrow, he's got the ball, boom, touchdown, boom, touchdown, boom, touchdown. Okay, this is annoying. I was ready for bed.
And all your notifications are going off in fantasy as you're stacking points against me. I'm laughing in the second quarter, seeing 6 points for Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
The projection is you're going to lose by 20. Now I think you're going to win by 10.
Yeah. It's a great time to be alive, isn't it?
Oh,
but
beauty
look,
is in the eye of the beholder.
The fact that there was multiple punts and multiple missed field goals in the final 2 minutes, I mean, that says a lot about time management skills, but it also says a lot about how good the Cincinnati offense is, but how bad the Cincinnati Bengals team is. And I want to know, like, is there a time or a recent memory of any team or quarterback that was this good, but the team was that bad?
Can't think of one.
I'll tell you a stat because Chad walked away.
I feel like you're going to line me up for some sort of Russell Wilson in Denver versus what he's doing right now.
No. So, like, right now, Joe Burrow has thrown 9 touchdown passes against the Ravens this year. He's 0-2. The Steelers haven't scored a touchdown against the Ravens this year. They're 1-0. But what that comes down to is Joe Burrow is probably not going to be the MVP this year. He should be, based on the way that he's playing. But he might not be the MVP this year. because of how bad their kicker is. And really, with the exception of a few series yesterday, that defense is piss poor also.
Oh, yeah, it was horrendous.
Oh, we got our bartender coming around the corner here.
This beer is brought to you by Strong House Performance.
There you go. I like it. Yeah, we weren't lying. Chad is here. So, yeah, you look at that. You think, how real are the Chargers?
I don't think they're a closing team yet. I think that they are.
How mad were you when J.K. Dobbins broke that touchdown?
Because you have them too, right?
Yeah, well, But I'm saying, like, I saw him break away, and I was like, you know what? This guy's going to go down. It's going to be annoying. But he's like, nah, it's tied. We're not playing this game. I'm powering through it.
Well, and Dobbins, I think, is going to play for every stat he can at this point in his career. But I think that the Chargers are a team that are catching the culture that Harbaugh can bring to you. I just don't think it's this season that they have the culture to make the next step.
I can't believe how many people like him.
And also, like, just coming back to this, they can't seem to close a game. Like, they're up 21 points, and then that happens. I don't care that it's Joe Burrow. You got to put your foot in their throat. When you're at home, man. Like, how does that happen, right?
I mean, Joe Burrow's different,
and you say you can't believe how many people like him? Are we talking about Harbaugh still?
Yeah, we're talking about Harbaugh, and we're talking about the players, because I was watching some of the pregame stuff, and all the features were about how the players like him because he's real, and how the players want him there, and how he got the locker room so quickly. I gotta tell you, like, he's just a white that wears khakis. I'm not sure that, like, I don't get it.
Well, it's one way of describing it. I think
it's accurate.
I think that there was something that Harbaugh, he already knew how to do. I think he did in San Francisco, but I think he certainly got better at it in Michigan. And there are certain people in your life that you will meet that look you in the eye when they talk to you and listen to what you're saying and can remember memories about you. Like, I've heard these stories about Harbaugh being told a story about somebody's family member, and months later, those guys that was in a locker room, back and he's been as a player, and now was in a locker room as a coach. And I think that he's...
Look, whatever. If that's the case, that's the case.
But there's also, like, the highlight of him playing catch and being frustrated when he drops a ball. Like, mind you, the man moves like Biden. Like, he's not smoothing. Yeah. It's cute. It's pandering at the same time.
Yeah, it's cute. That's hilarious.
Well, I mean,
that feels like the best chirp that's been thrown out.
Like, that's the way it looked. So,
yeah. So, Chargers held on to it. I guess, in the words of Vin Diesel, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
I figured you'd relish in this. It's a Bengals loss.
So it's a Bengals loss. I got no problem with the Bengals losing. I don't like Jim Harbaugh, and I don't like the Chargers. I do think that they're pretty good. I think that they've gradually gotten a little bit better. The fact that they got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards out of Baltimore, and somehow they're getting more production out of them than Baltimore ever did. I think that's kind of fun to see. But, yeah, I mean, the AFC, and I mentioned it earlier, very, very top-heavy. The NFC, I think we're seeing some changing of the guard. And I brought it up to you last week. Arizona was not playing this week, so we can look past them. They still lead the division. But you got the Rams sitting there at 5-5. You got the Seahawks sitting there at 5-5. And you have the 49ers sitting there at 5-5. So, yes, Arizona's up. They're only up by one game. Call it a game and a half because they beat the 49ers. But what can the 49ers do to get right here? And are you ready to now call the Cardinals a division leader? Because you weren't ready last week. But I want, a week's gone by, you're older, you're more mature. Are you ready?
Stop it. They're statistically leading the division.
Well, I know that.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if you're a tough nut to crack. So I'm just wondering if, things have worked out for you now. And
my problem is if they don't have a guy on defense that you can name outside of Budda Baker, that's a problem. There's no such thing as making it to the playoffs and having a no-name defense and being successful. That just doesn't happen in the NFL.
Yeah, it's fair. I didn't say they're winning the Super Bowl.
You can make it to the Super Bowl with slouch wide receivers and not household name wide receivers.
Well, they have those two.
Who's that?
Your boy Marvin Harrison, right?
Oh, yeah. But, okay, yeah. I thought you were saying that people that aren't household names, because
Yeah.
he is a household name.
Well, he's a household draft pick, and he owns the same name as his dad. So I get what you're trying to get to. But, yeah, look, the NFC is getting a little bit muddier. You got the NFC South, which 2.5 weeks ago I think we would have said it's time for the Falcons. They've run away with it. Start benching your starters. But they've got Wallop 2 weeks in a row.
Well, they've gone away from using Kyle Pitts again.
They did, and they've
2
gone
weeks
away
in a row.
They seem like they've gotten away from a few different things that were making them successful. All that's done is swing the barn door open for the Saints, who, again, not a great team or haven't had much luck. But the Buccaneers are sitting there. Like, you look at Mike Evans. The Bucs do? And they're getting Mike Evans back. So Chris Godwin is gone. The run game has been there in spurts. Baker Mayfield admittedly hasn't played his best football. They're 2 games under 500, I believe. The Falcons are now 1 game over. So the Falcons have, for all intents and purposes, a 3-game lead on the Bucs because they beat them twice. And I think Kirk Cousins threw for 1,000 yards in those 2 games. But are the Falcons in that free fall where they fall out? And maybe, you brought it up earlier, but maybe that NFC South is an under 500 division winner.
I think the NFC South is just as ugly as the AFC South to me.
Well, I'm going to say that the Texans are probably a little better than
Whoa,
the Falcons.
are they? Like,
they're better than the Falcons.
Oh, no, they're better. On paper, they were certainly better. But like this year, have they been better?
Defensively, they've been a little bit of a little suspect, and C.J. Stroud's made some mistakes.
And then the other 3 are pretty much mirror images of the other 3.
I'll call my shot. I actually think the Cowboys are going to win tonight.
Okay.
And I mean, we'll get into that later on, but now that you're on it, something feels weird. Yes, it's in Houston. 7.5-point favorites. I don't know. I'm not saying that I believe in the Cooper rush, the gold rush, but something's going to happen today. Maybe the defense gets a score. They're not going to run away with it, but 7.5 points for the Cowboys. I think they cover that without a doubt. But I do think that it's worth a little sprinkle on the money line.
Okay.
But, yeah, so both of those divisions are pretty piss poor, but we'll stick in the NFC right now. Do you see the Bucs or the Saints?
Not the Saints.
Not the Saints.
No. Too much turmoil there already.
You rally around a new coach?
No, it's not happening.
What are the Saints at right now? 4-7?
And $65 million in the hole in the cap.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
one of the reasons why they're in the cap hole they're in was because they were living on the laurels of like the 2018 draft, I think it was. And one of those guys is gone now. They just traded at the deadline. So a team that strongly needed a player like Marshawn Lattimore, who had been playing because he was injured.
Yeah.
Okay. But they strongly needed him, and now he's gone. What are you going to lean on? Cam Jordan?
Yeah.
That's your other 2018 player now?
And not to mention, like, offensively, like, you're missing Chris Olave. The person that's been stepping up most for them has been Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which, he was obviously, like, with Aaron Rodgers. He was a player. He was fine in Kansas City. It just seemed like he was maybe miscast in Buffalo, and they cast him away a little too quick, I think.
Well, and then you got Mr. Slant 2 weeks ago calling out Derek Carr for getting a wide receiver knocked out. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in the clubhouse or outside of the clubhouse. Like, there's just too much happening in New Orleans land.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, that probably puts a smile on Chad's face because I do think that the Falcon, I would say sitting ducks, but they're probably like sitting birds just to, make sure it's the right analogy. It's too bad that the schedule worked out that they've already played both of their games because it would have been nice to see one of those as like a Week 18 kind of like play-in game. But I've always been a Kirk Cousins guy. I've always liked him. But, yeah, whatever's happening down there in Atlanta, they need to fix it. They need to fix it fast because, yeah, they're at risk of losing that playoff position. They got slapped by the Broncos, and it's to the point that they brought in Michael Penix. Like, is that, like, and this is even like an outlandish statement. Was that to see what's up?
No.
They have way too much money invested in this guy.
Yeah.
Not just this year, next year too.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't be talking about Penix until 2026.
No. Yeah. No.
2020 at the earliest,
Yeah.
right? If we have a conversation about him in 2024 or 2025, it's because he got traded. Okay, I agree. And he can't get traded this year because that's already passed. All right, so what was standing out for you? You know, like I know that your coach wasn't too happy, but how about Minnesota, who I thought was going to fall off? Minnesota improves themselves to 8-2. It's not like a super exciting victory, but there was a couple questionable penalties that were happening throughout the course of that game. I don't know if you watched it.
Oh, I watched it, Shane.
Yeah. I saw only highlights. I did not actually watch a whole lot of it.
Recently, Brian Callahan called out some questionable officiating. And let me tell you, the screw job was in yesterday, Shane. This is the first time in a long time. Because it was a dead-end game. Like, I'm not cheering for one way or the other. I'm just there to watch my team, right?
Is it true that Sam Darnold is dating the Hawk Tua girl?
I don't think so. No, I don't know.
That's what I keep hearing. You think that's true?
She's got somebody named Pookie that she doesn't tell anybody who it is.
I think it's Sam Darnold.
Is it Sam Darnold? Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just saying.
We'll get
since she started, since she said what she said, because we'll respect Liam's wishes. Since she said what she said.
What is Liam's wishes?
Liam doesn't like when we say rude shit on here. Since she said what she said and got together with Sam Darnold, he learned how to play football again and is now 8-2. So I'm just saying, like, maybe she's onto something.
Listen, I'm laying there listening to the game yesterday because I didn't really feel like watching it. So laying in the couch, and the announcers went on a 2.5-minute rant about how there was some seriously weird calls being made. One of them was the hit in the end zone that completely changed the course of the game, where they called it a roughing or hitting a defenseless receiver, and it was squarely to the chest. And then another play happened, and the announcer again mentioned it. And I giggled. I legitimately giggled because I said, this guy is a person who has no skin in the game, travels from game to game and sees 17 of them in a season. And he can see it blatantly on the field. What the hell is happening here?
Well, look, the NFC North, they got some dogs in there.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception of Chicago.
They didn't win the game on their offense, though. I mean, they had some good plays, but it's Brian Flores and his defense and and I mentioned that a few weeks ago, the crazy schemes that he's had and the system or the fake pressures that he had, or simulated pressure, that he has been able to bring to the table in Minnesota. An aging defense. Harrison Smith isn't super fast anymore.
I'm pretty sure they got Stephon Gilmore as their top corner.
Yeah. And yet they certainly look like a very athletic bunch and have shut down plenty of teams they've walked into this season. And again, it just comes down to the crazy simulated. I saw Harrison Smith at the line of scrimmage 4 times yesterday in the second half alone, at the line and bail out to be the deep third 4 times. Like, that's when you're playing against a young quarterback. If that's not fucking with your head, there's not much that will.
That man is deep into his 30s too, and we did talk about the NFC North, likely the strongest division right now. I mean, we could talk about maybe the AFC West as it's starting to develop, minus the Raiders, but you look at the way that the Packers, the way that the Vikings, and of course, the way that the Lions are the Lions are slapping people. When it comes down to it, that's a game that there was no question that the Lions needed to win that game. But there's a lot of teams that play to their competition.
Doing hook and ladders.
I know. It's outstanding. They dropped a 50 burger on them. In my opinion, I thought that was Doug Peterson's last game in Jacksonville. But the way that they embarrassed him, the way that they continue to go pedal to the metal, I think that we've been talking about it. I'm not jumping on a hype train here, but the Lions, I think, are a real force. I don't know what their real weakness is to lose a game. Like, I mean, the Bucs got them, and the Bucs got them in Detroit. But what is legitimately the weakness of the Detroit Lions to beat them? How do you stop them?
Say that out loud again.
I know. It's pretty outrageous to hear. But, yeah, you look at it and you think, The only team that could beat them is the Tampa Bay Bucks. Their run game is outrageous. If they don't have the run game, Jared Goff will step up and find one of the receivers. They had multiple receivers over 100 yards yesterday. They have a couple of good tight ends. Sam Laporta, I would say, is like underperforming this year, and they're still doing all the shit that they're doing. I just don't understand how you stop those guys. The defense is supposed to be the weakness. Low key, the defense hasn't really been the weakness for a lot of the games that they're winning.
Anzalone being out now is going to be pretty significant. I mean,
but that's what they said about Hutchinson too, and like I get it. Like yeah, like you can only
their leading
sustain
tackler.
but you can only sustain so many of these. I get that, but Brian Branch gets suspended in the middle of a game, doesn't matter. Aiden Hutchinson goes like Gumby and gets his leg ripped over his head, doesn't matter. Anzalone now has to learn how to be ambidextrous because his right hand is broken, or right forearm is broken. I don't think it's going to matter, man. Like, I know that's crazy to say, but the Lions might not lose another game this season. We're excluding the playoffs. We're only talking regular season right now, but they might not. What's that? Yeah, and like, what's crazy, there's multiple 8-win teams in their division, and they're not even scared. Right? Like, how is that even possible?
Well, when you've been little brother as long as they've been, they finally just found the creatine. And
little brother, they're Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
Somehow they got to where they need to be, and yeah, that division, which was a joke for a long time and really owned by, spurts of the Vikings, dominated by the Packers. The Bears in like a Kyle Orton year found a way to win that thing. But it was funny to talk to some Bears fans yesterday, and you and I have always had the great debate about.
Were you talking about Kyle Orton? You didn't want to bring up Rex Grossman either.
Well,
that was their year.
It was the same year. Getting to talk to some real Bears fans about the way that they feel about Caleb Williams kind of surprised me. I honestly thought that they weren't going to like him. Like, they did make it very clear that he paints his nails. They did make it very clear.
Well, you made it clear.
I know.
They simply agreed.
Yeah. I also asked them if he took his cleats off, would they expect for his toenails to be painted? They said that they don't care as long as they win. And, like, that's probably the right way to look at it. But it really doesn't undo the fact that they traded away a quarterback to draft the exact same quarterback. You could say he's got a stronger arm talent. You could say he's got a higher ceiling, whatever. Right now, he's laying on the floor, so it really does not matter what that ceiling looks like. You look at Bears, those three guys are pretty optimistic. I don't really remember their names, but they're having a good time. Mm-hmm. We appreciated having them.
Yeah.
We did a little segment with them.
I'm glad that there was three of them there to echo what I would have been saying, and that it's strictly the coaching there.
So what you're saying is...
He was never the right hire from the rip. They were made fun of when he was hired from people who didn't even know the sport. Said who?
Let's just fast forward, okay? Fast forward out of the season. Let's stay on Chicago Bears train here. Chicago Bears missed the playoffs. Not a surprise. Chicago Bears are firing Matt Eberflus.
Yep.
Not a surprise.
Yep.
Who is the head coach of the Chicago Bears next year that's going to turn this guy around? They bringing in Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss?
No. There's two OCs right now that are very much sought after by every team that had a coaching.
There is no chance that Ben Johnson from Detroit is going to Chicago.
He may not go to Chicago. He might go to Jacksonville.
I don't think he's going there either. I actually think he's coming back to Detroit. But okay, go ahead. I don't want to answer for you.
But that I've already answered. So if I think that Ben Johnson is going to Jacksonville, that tells you that I think that Houston's OC is going on up to Chicago. Gets him out of the conference. He's not playing against the coach, the head coach, D'Amico Ryans, who got him the opportunity to be the OC there. He gets into what we've talked about is an NFC that can be wide open.
And the GM gets a pass, right? You're saying the GM gets a pass?
I think, I still think that Ryan Pace is somebody who's very well liked, not just among executives, but among the players that he talks to as well. There's a lot of people when they talk about their interview process with Ryan Pace and during the draft, and how much they just enjoyed Again, this is one of those guys that just communicate well with players, I think, that connect well. So I think that he does get a pass, yeah.
Okay, so we're saying that happened. So you're saying there's no...
I don't think he wants one yet either.
And I don't disagree. And, like, we're just wondering who's going to get the interviews. Now I'm going to give you another one. You know this guy. I know this guy. Arthur Smith. Does he get interviewed?
No.
Okay. And honestly, that's what I wanted to hear. I don't want him to leave. It's been a while since we've had an effective.
He's had two offenses, in the top 10. One that is really, really well known, and that was in Tennessee years ago. He hasn't done anything since. Your offense is good, but it's not what you're known for.
Well, exactly. They're not quarterback centric, but one thing about Arthur Smith, and this is just my confirmation bias from Regency, he doesn't work well with young quarterbacks. Yeah. The Mariota thing, he was far more effective with Ryan Tannehill. Far more effective. Like, I almost think, not that he makes decisions for Vrabel, but I almost think that he was part of the decision-making process to say, look, we need Tannehill. We need somebody that kind of like is on the same wavelength. And I don't think Mariota, even though like his football acumen was high, he just wasn't that. You know, the Justin Fields experiment, he's raw, but he was a fifth-year player, right? It's not that.
Yeah, going back,
Ritter might be a bad comparison. It's not probably not fair.
So the year before Art took over as the OC in Tennessee with Mariota, LaFleur was the OC. Then you had Art take over, and after 5 games, Mariota got benched. So I don't even know if you really had an opportunity to be with Mariota to really say, like, I can't work with him and I need to work with Tannehill. But I just don't think that, the guy doesn't need it, right? We've talked openly when he was the OC in Tennessee and when he got hired as the head coach of Atlanta, was that his dad started FedEx, man. He doesn't need to work. Like, he's doing this because he likes football, right? But I think that he's kind of fell into the position where he's on a team that is chugging along, that he can look. Tomlin looks after his side of things. Arthur Smith can look after his side. The same way that I think, why would Cliff Kingsbury want to leave where he is?
And I'm not suggesting that he does. Like, we're saying the offensive minds that are out there. We look at guys like Ben Johnson, I guess. Yesterday, Chad and I were talking, and he said, "Whatever happened to Eric Bieniemy?" I said, "Well, he interviewed 100 times for head coaching positions, and he wasn't ready. I mean, Andy Reid was ready."
You know where he went, right?
He's somewhere in college.
But he went to Washington. He was Washington's OC and flamed out there.
Of course.
Couldn't even do it. So, that was just it. And now he's in college, but not going to get another shot. And with Cliff, like, he's got paid, not really a need to, but Ben Johnson, Houston's OC, is going to be, and who else were we talking about there?
Well, it'll come down to what they think is the appropriate thing, but I'll tell you, and this is just me saying it, if I were a hot head coaching candidate, an offensive-minded head coach, the Chicago Bears situation is not good. They don't have anybody on the line because they took an extra receiver, which is fine. Rome Odunze, I think, was the second best receiver in the draft. So I'm fine with the pick. But when you are forced to build around a Caleb Williams, his mind is literally only designed to make the splash play. He doesn't know how to make the three.
I disagree. I honestly think that, like, his college tape is way different than you described. And I know that college is vastly different than the pro leagues, but I think that our recency bias in seeing the shitty positions that Eberflus's offensive team has put him in has made him look more piss poor than he is. I think he's far above or far better than we're giving him credit for. But it's not any different than I've talked about scheming players open. Like, there's just nobody open in Chicago. I watch enough All 11 to see, like, there's just nothing for him to throw at. It's not like Will Levis where I'm like, he should have thrown it on second 2, but he went to second 5 and got sacked.
But the problem is he holds onto the ball and dances around and doesn't run forward. If you don't see anybody open and you're at 3 seconds, getting into 4 seconds, it's time to move up the field. He can run.
I'll agree with you. And then I'll also say that at seconds 5, 6, and 7, is it harder on the offense or harder on the defense to be doing your job?
It depends who you're playing against.
Yeah, but how is somebody not able to get open for him in that situation, right?
Look, the conversation won't be really answered for the next 2 years because there's going to be a new coach there next year. It's going to be an offensive-minded head coach. Or, like a guy like Vrabel comes in and brings somebody that is some kind of like quarterback whisperer. I don't know what happens there. But what else you got for takeaways from it? Like, we were hanging out up here yesterday. We ended up watching the Steelers and Ravens game on one of these screens. Pretty sick place to watch a game, man. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, what is this thing, you think? 200 inches?
Roughly.
Yeah. And the quality was good. I thought that looking at the screen, getting banged up would be a little bit tough, but I don't know.
My a prediction where I think Vrabel lands next year.
Okay.
The Giants.
Okay.
I think that the Giants are going to go after a splash name because they've let splash free agents leave, and this is the only thing they can do to get a splash name in.
Well, if I was Vrabel, I wouldn't go to the Giants, but
Neither would I.
yeah. Maybe Bill Belichick.
As for your game, because obviously we're leading into your Steelers game, we're coming into the final minutes of us here, so let's talk about your boys.
So look, here's what it comes down to. Lamar Jackson can play well against every team in the league. But for some reason, he cannot play well against Mike Tomlin. And the Steelers have beaten Baltimore 8 of the last 9 times. Lamar Jackson hasn't played in all those games, whether it was the last game of the season and it didn't mean anything, or he was injured because they didn't know how to protect him up until recently. Looking at the game, and like I watched it with Chad, and every time Lamar Jackson went to throw the ball, like it didn't look right. He's not comfortable. He doesn't know what he's seeing. You watch Lamar Jackson play against any other team this year. They haven't been undefeated, but any other team this year, he did not look like that. There were some drop balls, but when you're throwing 500-mile-an-hour fastballs 10 yards down the, you can't expect your guys to get it. They should get it. It hit him in the face mask, but there was a lot of tough plays. There was a lot of yardage left on the field, but at the end of the day,
it's still early in the season we saw this happen. I think it was at the first game maybe of the year even when we watched it here. They got away from Derrick Henry too many times.
Well, Derrick Henry fumbled early, and maybe his
what is 20th or sorry not 20th?
Well,
way over exaggerated, 10th in his entire career.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen very often, right? He gets a pass.
Absurd, and the way that it happened was like that might be the first fumble like that he's ever had.
Yeah,
where someone actually hit it out of his arms. But you keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket, you make him read your defense, and not make the splash play because Caleb Williams wants to be Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson's the only Lamar Jackson. And really, until it got to 2 minutes left in the fourth, there was no Lamar Jackson action, like at all. And the Steelers defense did enough to stay disciplined. I was telling you earlier, I think it's funny that Joe Burrow has 9 touchdowns against the Ravens this year and hasn't won a single game. And the Steelers didn't score a touchdown. Chris Boswell gets 6 field goals because whatever, that's what Chris Boswell does. Defense plays well. Russell Wilson makes enough plays. Made the stupidest fucking play that I've ever seen a quarterback make, where he had that interception in the end zone. But Peyton Wilson came back and got it. I think that the more and more the season goes on, I always have a rule at my house that, and Chad knows the rule, we usually have a Super Bowl party. That Super Bowl party gets canceled if the Steelers play in the Super Bowl. We haven't planned a party yet.
Oh my God!
I'm just telling you, we haven't planned a party.
Oh my God!
We haven't planned a party yet.
We're going there. Week 11. Shane is starting the Super Bowl train coming right through Pennsylvania.
You're telling me, you look at an 8-2 Pittsburgh team, a 9-2 Buffalo team, a 9-1 Kansas City team. You're telling me the Steelers can't play with them? Oh, and we'll throw the Ravens back in there because I think that the Ravens are still like a top contender in the AFC. So the top 4 teams in the AFC are those 4 teams. You're telling me the Steelers don't belong there?
No.
They don't?
No.
All right, well, go ahead.
I'm saying it. They don't belong there.
Well, give a reason. You can't just say no.
I've often talked about divisional games can go one way or the other. Where was yesterday's game?
Well, it was in Pittsburgh.
Okay, you're meant to win a divisional game at home, so we'll give that to you. Let's see what matchup 2 looks like.
Sure.
Right. I still just
8 of the last 9, but yeah, they've played them all in Pittsburgh. Keep going.
yeah.
8 of the last 9 have been in Pittsburgh.
I just think you're again recency bias and the Ravens being who the Ravens are, that you're chugging along a little bit hard. We talked about the top heavy AFC teams, and I don't consider your team to be top heavy. I don't. I think that there are splash plays. I think that's what sometimes keeps you guys in it, and it does happen. But we'll see.
You're so bitter.
I'm not buying it.
It's embarrassing how bitter you are. Like 8-2, and you're saying that they're not. Yeah,
They're a good team. They're not the Chiefs or the Bills. And I if you had asked me this 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't even have put the Bills there. But again, we talked about the recent additions the Bills have made, how they've already come along for them.
Just give me your top 4 teams in the AFC then, and then we'll move on.
I
want to hear your top 4 teams in the AFC.
The question was, can they play with the Bills or the Chiefs? I said no. I don't think they can.
You're going to find out on Christmas Day. The Steelers play the Chiefs.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we have the rest of the schedule started. Like the tough schedule started against Baltimore. They got Baltimore again. They got Cincinnati twice. They got the Chiefs. They got the Eagles, and they got the Browns twice. So.
Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs to end of December. That's a top 3 games.
Yeah, but that's why stacking the wins at the beginning mattered. You know, like right now you look at it, they have 8 wins. Do you say they don't get to 11? And you're saying it's impossible to get to 12.
I think they can win both games against the Browns.
Okay, so that puts them at 10. Even if you were to say they're splitting against Baltimore.
I think you can beat the Eagles only because I don't trust Sirianni as a coach.
Okay, so then based on what we're talking about, if they're splitting with Baltimore, they're splitting with Cincinnati, they're beating the Eagles, that's 12 wins.
You're going to beat the Browns.
Yeah, beat the Browns twice.
I don't know about twice. Jameis is on a mission here to prove he needs a contract somewhere else too.
My God.
And by that time, you guys might not even have starters on the field.
They play the Browns this week, and they play the Browns in 3 weeks.
You might not have starters on the field.
Well,
the AFC is that top heavy.
Well, they got to lock up the division. So I get what you're getting at, but you haven't given me 4 teams that you think are the top 4 teams in the AFC.
I'll go with the Steelers as being a top 4 team. I just don't think that they can bang with the Chiefs or the Bills. But that wasn't the original question. It was what you asked.
No, I asked you who the top 4 teams in the AFC are. And you don't disagree then with me, with the 4 that I said.
Which was
Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Ravens.
Yeah.
Because the Texans would be the close next. And then you're probably looking at the Broncos, who've only gotten better every week. And the Chargers, who I also agree have only gotten better every week.
I want to side with Houston.
Okay.
Over, so you go Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Steelers. I would like to side. I think Houston and the Steelers are on the same level as team.
Okay.
They're pretty interchangeable to me. When Houston is on as a team and Pittsburgh is on as a team, there's not many teams that are going to beat them.
Yeah. No, I know. You just can't back it up. That's why I kept getting back to it. But
I put you guys in the 4. You asked me at the 4. I said yes. I just don't think you can bang with the Chiefs or the Bills. I think you said when they play the Chiefs on when?
Christmas Day.
Ah. And do they play the Bills this year?
No. Well, maybe in the AFC Championship game. We'll have to see if the Bills get there. All right, we got Monday Night Football. We're giving away a Minka Parsons jersey and probably.
Why do you keep calling him Minka?
What?
It's Minka Fitzpatrick and Micah Parsons.
Whatever. Like anybody.
You've been hanging out with Chad way too long.
Like it fucking matters. Like no one wants the Cowboys jersey. Everyone showed up here and they found out we were giving a Cowboys jersey. They probably just went home. But I did tell you, I do believe that something weird is going to happen today. Whether it's a special teams touchdown, a defensive touchdown, the Cowboys come out hot. They're not going to let Jake Paul outwin them in their own stadium. The Cowboys are going to start to win a couple of games here because it doesn't matter anymore. I think it starts tonight. I think that they beat Houston tonight. I don't have any good reason other than something weird is going to happen today and that the Cowboys are going to win.
Well, just Troy Aikman's there.
Troy Aikman is there. It's in Houston. I think J.J. Watt's on the sideline. There's probably going to be a whole bunch of guys there.
Why are you saying it's in Houston?
It is in Houston.
It's in Dallas. You silly goose. When you said that earlier, I was like, maybe
I thought they showed NRG Stadium earlier.
No.
Well, even better.
Yeah.
So there you go. As of tonight.
Which is a really stupid stadium. You know, they haven't except for like the first year was created, they don't have the roof open ever there. It's in freaking Houston.
Yeah, the humidity's tough. All right. Do you think that the Cowboys can actually beat the Texans tonight?
No.
You hate everyone.
No, Nico's back. Nico's back. He's had this long time off. He was an animal before he got hurt. I think he's going to come back and be the same animal that he was. I think that was what C.J. Stroud has been missing over the last few weeks. He certainly had some connections with Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz, but this is who he needed back was Nico Collins. I think that the defense last week did not look good, and I think D'Amico's going to get that shit back under wraps again.
All right.
Yeah.
So that will wrap the NFL, but we got 2-3 minutes left, and I wanted to talk a little bit about college football.
Oh, okay.
Not so much about what happened last week because those weeks are over. You know, I think Texas is barreling towards
SEC championship.
Yeah.
I think we're like 79% or something like that now.
Yeah, and I think it would be amazing to have them against Alabama in that game. I think that would be a nice little matchup to head on down. I think they play that game in Atlanta. But what I want to talk about is the two games this week that are going to shape the college football playoff. And one, Indiana is going to the shoe to play Ohio State. Ohio State in 2 weeks has the game against Michigan. I don't think it's got the hype that it's had in recent years because Michigan stinks. Any chance Indiana can actually hang with these guys? I got to tell you, I was not an Indiana believer until I watched them drop 47 unanswered
you like
against
that
Michigan
QB?
State. I want to not like him, but he knows how to run the exact offense they want to run.
Yeah. Can they hang? Yeah, for the first half.
That's it.
Yeah. I think that when it really gets push comes to shove, Ohio State's program is just far too strong.
Those two running backs are both going to be NFL running backs, but underrated for Ohio State, I think, is Will Howard, guy that transferred in from Kansas State. No one's talking about it, but I think that guy's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL. I think that he's going to be one of those like late teens, 20 quarterbacks. One of those teams that doesn't mind using that as a luxury pick is going to have him. And he is very, very similar to like a Bo Nix style. Maybe not as polished because he hasn't played as much. And really, if it wasn't for that Avery Johnson guy going to Kansas State, that guy would be still there trying to win the Big 12. But coming into the Big 12 or Big 10, he's there. Last game, and you know we were going to talk about this with Chad, and we'll hear him from the other side. Notre Dame and Army in prime time.
Yeah.
At Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Both teams are pulling out these crazy uniforms. I honestly don't think that this game has ever had playoff implications to it before, but there is a fairly good percentage that put Notre Dame into the playoffs. And based on the way that the seeding can go at large, I think that Notre Dame has the chance to make it even if they lose.
So I said to Chad, I saw a while ago, there was a really funny meme that said that the only people that were pushing for Army to get ranked were Notre Dame fans, so that when this game lined up, they had an excuse to get into the playoffs using it as being a stepping stone.
I mean, right now they're 8, right? Like if it wasn't for that loss to Northern Illinois, they're sitting at undefeated. So yes, this wasn't the juggernaut of the schedule that they played, but they did beat a Texas A&M team that has spoiled a few SEC teams' playoff hopes. So we got to put a little bit into that. But if Army is to beat Notre Dame, I believe that Army has made a real case because they're going to be in their conference championship.
Oh, because they're going to beat him. I thought you were going to say that.
No, they're going to be in their conference championship game against Tulane. That's already decided. There's a real chance.
The green wave.
There's a real chance that Army will be the at-large 5 seed in the college football playoff. I know.
It won't matter.
It does. Hey, why are you so negative today?
I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
realistic. Come on. It's a feel good story, but it's fucking Army.
God, you're a bad person. All right, I was
You really,
hoping.
is it Flavia or how do you say his last Pavia? What's his last name?
Oh, I have no idea.
Get over your hype trade. I don't even know the QB's name.
I'm not hype train. I'm saying they're the
I think
25
it's
team.
Pavia, I think it
Right
was.
now, the at-large bid is going to come down to, at this point anyway, it's coming down to either Boise State or Army.
Give me Boise State and that running back all day.
Yeah. Well, look, Army has the ability to do this. I like my personal opinion. Prime time. I'm pretty sure it's on NBC. It's at Yankee Stadium. I am fairly certain that Notre Dame is going to win like 47-0.
Speaking of primetime, on the way out the door here because Dallas is involved.
Yeah.
Does Prime force the hand to get Shadur to Dallas and gets him a job in Dallas as a coach?
Well, Chad and I talked about this briefly, so I'll speak for both of us. We do not believe that Prime can do his Prime things in the NFL. We think that his style is built for college, and I believe that he'll stay there as long as possible, as long as they'll allow him to. If he were to take a job, because of draft picks and because of where things are, he's going to be with the New York Giants. But I do think that regardless, he is the coach of Colorado next year. I could see him taking over a major college program like Florida State or Florida.
Are you calling Shadur to the Giants? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
He's not going to Tennessee then, right?
Well, look, we'll have to see if the refs blow another, if they ruin another Sunday for you. I don't know.
What are now
whatever
still
you're whining
Carolina,
about.
right?
Well, I mean, Carolina, they're not going to draft another quarterback.
And Tennessee's too.
Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, we can start to see some of the regulars are filtering in here for Monday Night Football. Why don't we get ourselves out of here and go hang out? We can go give out this jersey and see if my prediction on the Cowboys is correct. We will see everybody next week. We're going to be back down here at the clubhouse and enjoy some football and definitely check out that Indiana-Ohio State game.
Giddy up.